Godzilla x Kong has just hit theaters, and I absolutely fucking loved it. So here's my review. Now, the latest entry in the Monsterverse franchise follows up on the explosive showdown of Godzilla vs. Kong with an all-new cinematic adventure pitting the almighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. And this new film delves further into the history of these titans, their origins, and the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond, while uncovering the mythic battle that helps forge these extraordinary beings and tie them to humankind forever. Now, that's the statement that Warner Brothers and Legendary put out to promote this film, and honestly, they really do everything they promised. I really loved this movie. I thought it was fucking bonkers, fucking fun, but that's what I want from a movie literally called Godzilla x Kong. Like, I expected nothing less. And I'm fucking pissed off that Godzilla vs. Kong has a 75%, where this has a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. Call me crazy, but I thought this was so much better. And I'm really surprised at the bad reviews. Now, I really loved Godzilla x Kong. To me, this is what the movies are all about. And I know I might be the minority here, but I thought this was one of the better Monsterverse movies, if not the best, which is not saying much. The franchise has been a bit hit or miss, but it's a lot of fun. And when I go to the movie, that's kind of what I want, to have fun. A lot of people are going to be saying that after Godzilla -1, this is kind of a letdown, but I don't know about that. I think both films can be validated and exist in their own, separate spheres. Godzilla -1, let's clarify, was fucking amazing. It was one of the best movies of last year. I was shocked because, it was great social commentary, plus a great movie, plus just a great Godzilla movie, where this is a colorful, smash-em-up monster jam that's basically like action figures smashed together, but it's really well put together. It's exciting, funny, and honestly a tad emotional at the end to boot. Yeah, it's cheesy as hell, but like I said, I expected nothing less. Now, this franchise has understandably been very messy. Warner Brothers and Toho did a great thing when they signed over the rights to Kong and Godzilla and all of those classic monster movie characters so they could share the screen in a way Godzilla characters haven't really done since the Showa era. Remember all those silly monster mashup movies? If you're a Godzilla fan, you probably do. Godzilla vs. Megalon, Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Destroy All Monsters Attack. There's a lot of them. They're very weird, and honestly, some of them are classics to me for nostalgic purposes, and this joins the list of movies I will love because of their ultra goofy nature, not because it's, an amazing film, although seriously, it does make a lot of good choices, better choices than prior entries in the series, notably in how the film balances the human characters with the monster characters. And I say characters because the creatures here really did feel like characters, not just plot devices to drive the story forward. The common complaints with these movies are that the humans are unneeded and, they add excess to a film that might be better off without them. And yes, there really are great Godzilla films out there with humans in them, and Godzilla -1 is a great example. It proves you could tell a great story with many human characters. That film was about people surviving in post-World War II and trying to build lives for themselves, and at the end of the day, it was a really fucking good Godzilla movie with human characters I cared about. I loved -1, and I did not expect this to be good. And let's get this out of the way. They're, completely different films. But I think where -1 used Godzilla as a villain in a classic way that he's been depicted as, since the beginning, since in the inception of Godzilla 1954, this is 100% more of a Hollywood remix. And it works because it plays with the sandbox of its characters so well. Godzilla -1 was a real movie that used the body of a monster movie to be a great film. It was amazing, but this one's much more for the kiddies, the kids at heart. It's just really good, and it's unfair to instantly compare them because I think the perspectives of the creature characters here have a lot more depth, where Godzilla -1, as epic as it is, doesn't level with the monster on this kind of scale. That's more of people surviving. It's more people trying to overcome and survive on their own in a world where they are almost like outcasts. And you don't get to see them as people that much. That's because that's a Godzilla film. This is Godzilla x Kong, and if anything, it's more Kong's film. And the Kong stuff is so good. I love how we get a lot of Kong, and it's just a silent movie where the action does all the talking. Especially, I love how he interacts with the new little mini Kong character. I really loved that. Just how the movie does so much without even having dialogue at points. That's what a movie like this should have been all this time, just this whole Monsterverse. And to me, it's one of the best parts of the movie. And yeah, they have the exposition in this from the humans, but it's pretty well balanced, and I honestly didn't mind the exposition in this as much because, here, there's just so much crazy going on. It's all serving this kooky plot with great set pieces. There's a lot more Hollow Earth action in this. There's cool Transformers tech. There's a giant spaceship that can camouflage into the ancient creatures. There's a giant hidden temple world hidden beneath the earth. Lots of cool new monsters and alien-looking things. And I feel like the last movie was all set up for the stuff we got here. And that's kind of what I didn't like about Godzilla vs. Kong. It all felt like set up and exposition, whereas here, the exposition is just always serving something fun. There's always something crazy going on. Even if people are just talking about something, you got some really crazy, cool backgrounds to stare at. Honestly, I loved it. And, the last movie was so much humans, not enough creatures. Here, they mesh perfectly together. And where Kong gets center stage, Godzilla's more just a cameo in this film. Basically, he just appears to scream, shoot some fire breath, and body some titans. But boy, Kong gets a lot of great scenes here, a lot of character development. And I mean, he is a character. The monsters in this are much more developed than they've been before in these Hollywood blockbusters, and that's the biggest step up. We get to see the monsters stand on their own in scenes away from the humans. The humans in this are fun. I really like the chemistry. Brian Tyree Henry's back as the nutsy but lovable conspiracy theorist Bernie. Rebecca Hall as the bookish doctor and adopted mother to the little girl from Skull Island, Gia. There's Dan Stevens, who joins the cast as a Jack Sparrow-like veterinarian / pilot / monster scientist who joins the expedition to Hollow Earth, and all these characters bounce off of each other really well. I'm kind of glad they got rid of Alexander Skarsgård's character. I mean, he's a great actor, but I just didn't think he fit the franchise. Even when they introduced him in the last movie, I was like, he just doesn't seem like he wants to be in this. Usually human characters do kind of suck the life away from the story, but here they have colorful lines. The dialogue is fun, and there's jokes that aren't overwhelming, and they always each add a little something. Brian Tyree Henry's Bernie and Dan Stevens' Trapper both have this great buddy chemistry while delivering exposition about the plot, and Rebecca Hall and Gia have this cute mother and daughter bond that's fun to watch and sweet, and it's also always informing the plot, even, if the dialogue's on the nose. It's just fun to watch, and they never really bore you. The scenes are never really too long or too boring. It's always moving forward, and that's one of the most important things. Aside from all the monster stuff here, and it's really good, probably one of the best things about the movie is how they give full-on separate scenes to Kong and other monsters, so you can just really flesh out the world. These are like 10-minute long mini-movies that the director did talk about in early interviews. He was mentioning how the film would have uninterrupted Titan action sequences, which is like a dream come true, given that all the complaints are usually that there's constant cuts to humans in the middle of a monster fight. But here, the monsters get plenty of screen time to themselves. And there's something so beautiful about that, and the confidence the filmmakers have in just letting the monsters be, letting them have all these scenes without dialogue. It's just action. And director Adam Wingard and his screenwriters really have come up with something so popping and wonderful to look at. And I really kid you not, I love this world, and I feel like the filmmakers had a love for this world that these monsters inhabit. And I haven't seen anything like this since Peter Jackson's King Kong remake, which is saying a lot. Gareth Edwards' Godzilla was a well-crafted movie, but it's not a typical blockbuster. Godzilla was in that for less than 8 minutes. That was mostly commentary. Here, there are plenty of great vista shots, long scenes of Kong bonding with that little ape who he recruits, great details in how they communicate, little nuances and sweet gestures and moments. I love these silent scenes of just the monsters and apes interacting. There were shades of a lot of classic Godzilla films here. The secret tribe in Hollow Earth kind of reminded me of the monster-worshipping tribe in Ebirah Horror of the Deep, and just adding this extra tribe really does add lore to the world. And, of the movies, it just makes them very expansive. And I love how grand and villainous the big bad is. He's this evil anti-Kong with this purposefully ugly design. And they do a great job of giving you sympathy towards Kong, showing him being a great leader. You also have these really well put together battle scenes that I just thought were so fun to watch. They knew what they were doing. It's exactly what a movie like this should be. There's this anti-gravity fight where there's these two shots of the apes lining up to beat the shit out of each other, and these two Godzilla creatures, the Ice Godzilla, the OG Godzilla, lining up to destroy each other. And I was honestly pretty upset when it was over. It ended pretty abruptly after this pretty cool fight scene in Rio. They kind of hint at that in the trailer. The movie does just wrap up, but it is satisfying. I mean, it has this cute little emotional beat at the end. I don't want to get into spoilers here, because this is going to be what I liked about the movie, so if you haven't seen it, shut the review now, even though it's pretty far in. But I love the ending, how you have Ice Godzilla fighting Godzilla. But even though, Ice Godzilla has been like a slave this movie, Scar King, the giant evil ape monkey, has been using him, so they kind of do what you'd expect. Like, they free him, and then Kong, who's a good guy, Kong's like the hero of this movie, kind of like keeps him, and they like almost show that he respects him. He like pets him on the nose like he's a pet, and they bring him back to Hollow Earth, and it's just sweet. And then you have Gia and Rebecca Hall bonding, and it's just so sweet. I loved it. It was so fucking goofy, so silly, but it's great. This is what I want to see. And as I left this movie, there were people who were like, I was trying not to fall asleep. They're like, if this IMAX theater, had recliners, I would have been asleep. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that movie was fucking amazing. Again, I saw this at a 10 o'clock p.m. showing, so maybe they were just tired, but I wasn't. I was energized by this film. I saw it in IMAX, and honestly, I went into this like a little like, maybe I'll just see it another night. It was kind of late on a Friday. I had to be up early, but I ended up seeing it, and I was floored by this. I love this movie. It was so much fun. Because let me know what you think. If you really like Godzilla x Kong, if you think it's one of the better Monsterverse movies, I thought it was so much fun. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think.